Welcome to the Album Nerds Podcast with your hosts, Don and Dude.
Pardon me, I've had a couple too many sausages. It's the Album Nerds Podcast. I'm Dude. I got Don with me. You ready to live live Chicago style?
Oh, yeah. Hoping for a visit from Abe Froman.
The Sausage King of Chicago.
Uh-huh.
So this is, of course, the Album Nerds Podcast, where we love albums and the album format, talking about them, loving on them, and you know, hopefully y'all know that we've been on a journey, Summer in the Cities series, so visiting different cities and picking albums from artists that hail from those cities. We've got a great show for you today. We are finishing our tour. Summer in the Cities is coming to a close in Chicago, Illinois, and we'll each pick an album from that wonderful windy city. Then, of course, Don's going to ask us a deep question. We'll also have some shout-outs to some other albums and album-related items we're digging, and then we'll spin that wheel of musical discovery to figure out what the hell we're doing next time. But this week, we're bringing it all to a close, Chicago style.
That's what I'm talking about!
Our Summer in the Cities road trip makes its last stop in Chicago, where lakefront winds, crowded L tracks, and glowing dive bars color the music echoing from basements, rehearsal halls, and neighborhood clubs. This week, we dive into two records born of that Midwestern heartbeat, tracing how the city's grit, pride, and restless motion press into every groove, harmony, and line of melody.
You set quite a scene there, Don. Okay. So Chicago is a great city, lots of musical tradition, a lot to think about. I mean, there's the whole blues thing, which just felt too overwhelming to dive into here for this particular conversation. So some other things that you considered, Tom, what was on your mind from Chicago that for one reason or another you didn't go with?
Well, I mean, there's the Smashing Pumpkins. Or Smashing Pumpkins.
Sure.
We've done Siamese Dream before, and at some point we've got to get to Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness. But that's a double album. It's long.
Well, it's a 90s double album, which means it's really long. Yeah.
Also, around that same time, Liz Phair. I think we did that album as well.
We did talk about Exile in Guyville, yes.
But she's a good one. How about you?
Of course, Wilco. Yankee Hotel Foxtrot's probably their biggest, so that would have been one to talk about. Sky Blue Sky is one of my personal favorites, so that would have also been on the list. Common,
a lot of hip hop,
previously known as Common Sense. His album Like Water for Chocolate from 2000. Really always enjoyed that album, so that was a possibility for me. And also some newer artists like Chance the Rapper from Chicago. I've enjoyed performances of his. I've seen on TV, but I have not actually dug into his records. So
yeah, I need to do that.
I gotta find the time. All right. So the picks are in. The brats are hot. It's time for our cha-cha-cha choices.
Road trip! Chicago!
You choose me?
My pick from Chicago comes from Mr. Curtis Mayfield in his 1972. It's actually a film soundtrack called Superfly. This is the third solo album by the American soul and funk singer, songwriter, guitarist, and producer, born Curtis Lee Mayfield in Chicago in 1942. Mayfield had come up with a band called The Impressions. They were kind of a politically social aware soul act throughout the 60s. But in the 70s, he went on to make some solo records. And this is one of them. It's the soundtrack to the film Superfly, which is, I guess, seen as one of those blaxploitation movies of the era. So the film, I think, features a drug pusher. I haven't actually seen the film. I think you said you had. Yeah.
I have. Yeah, I mean, it's now considered classic black cinema because there had been a thing called exploitation films, which were usually lower budget, like violent kind of street level type things. But yeah, I have seen it. It wasn't my favorite of that time period, like Shaft and stuff, but you know, it had its moments.
Yeah. Kind of has its own, concept. I mean, it I guess kind of loosely follows the movie, but in general, it's about poverty, drugs, and survival in the city. So anyway, well let's get to the opening cut. Little Child Running Wild.
Was just a nothing.
Just let me be, let me be, let me be, let me be.
Love it. I mean, just it's awesome. Everything you want from an album from this era.
Absolutely. So it sets the tone. I mean, that's kind of the overall vibe of this album. But it tells the story of a child growing up in a hard and unstable environment. I think this plays over kind of an opening sequence in the film where two drug users, I don't know, are on the streets and struggling. And I guess there's a priest or something.
Yeah.
Or is that the guy's name?
The drug dealer, the coke dealer is named Youngblood Priest.
Oh, okay.
He's the main character.
That makes sense.
There's no one named Superfly.
Okay.
By the way, just so you know. Yeah, it seems like it's Superfly. Maybe he's a cop or something, but that's not the story.
So I think, one of the interesting things about the lyrics or the storytelling is that Mayfield sings kind of with sympathy rather than anger.
Yeah.
And it has, some real emotional weight to it. There's a lot of, I guess, what were they calling it? Progressive soul at the time. I mean, this is just a year or two after Marvin Gaye's What's Going On. And I definitely feel, a lot of similarities.
Yeah. I hear the way that Stevie Wonder paints some urban pictures. I hear that here as well. The songs used in the opening moments of the movie, it kind of has the neighborhood itself as a character. The poverty and neglect, the young people growing up surrounded by limited choices and nasty stuff going on around them. So victims of their environment. But the ominous strings with the punchy horns kind of setting a dark but hopeful scene. But yeah, I mean, the song itself is a story about a child growing up without the support or opportunities needed to escape the difficult environment. And the movie is Priest trying to get enough cocaine together with the money he has to sell so that he can get out. So I think it kind of comes into that as well.
Gotcha. Again, kind of like the Stevie Wonder and the Marvin Gaye. I like that it just has this smooth sound, but the subject matter is so dark and heavy. So it's kind of a cool contradiction. All right, well, let's move on to the next cut, Pusher Man.
Ghetto Prince is my thing, making love's how I swing. I'm your pusher man. I'm your pusher man.
So another one, the beat is just relaxed and cool, I guess. But of course, so the lyrics are obviously about a drug dealer in the world around him. And I guess it's maybe used in multiple scenes in the film. Yeah. But I guess it's, underlining the danger of the business. But it's just so funny, because his voice is so kind of friendly or something. And it's, I don't know. I guess it sort of maybe captures the charm of a drug dealer potentially, or I don't know. It's another interesting one, another cool one.
Yeah, it introduces the kind of priest character written from the dealer's perspective, but it's really like he's a businessman surviving inside a broken system. It's not. It's cool that he's a drug dealer. It's just like this guy is successful in a world where that's unfortunately success. But it's still dangerous. And it does project power and coolness. But the lyrics kind of undercut that image by revealing someone shaped by, the demands of this world, the danger of the world. I'm your mama, I'm your daddy line through it, where when you're dealing with a dealer and then addicts, this person is so important to them because of the dark world they're living in. So yeah, it's a song full of contradiction, which I think is a good way of illustrating or capturing the world that Curtis Mayfield is trying to describe to us.
Yeah, I think some of the criticism the film received was about, it perhaps glorifying this sort of thing.
No more than something like Scarface.
Right, yeah.
Or,
But I would say the soundtrack does not do that. I think Mayfield's very good at, not painting these people as heroes.
Yes.
But maybe just capturing, accurately their perspective.
Well, it's almost like a narrator in a play or something, kind of breaking in at times and giving you the real story, not the story that you're seeing portrayed by the actors. It is, the music makes the movie watchable. Let's put it that way.
All right, well, was there a cut you wanted to highlight?
Yeah, one of the bigger tracks off the album commercially, as well as they play bits of it throughout the movie, and one that describes kind of a side character.
Fat Freddy? Oh, I'm sorry.
And what happens to him, yes, Fat Freddy. This one's called Freddy's Dead.
Spoiler alert.
Now Freddy's dead. That's what I said. Everybody's misused.
Those strings are great.
Yeah. But that you hear that throughout the movie. This one was written specifically for the film after Mayfield saw an early cut of it, apparently. But Freddy's a kind of a minor character, hustler, drug runner. His death is a powerful symbol in the movie. There's a whole thing where Priest is his boss, essentially, but he betrays him when this big drug deal he's trying to make and escape the life and all that stuff. And Freddy goes to the cops, but then gets hit by a car or a truck or something. And yeah, again, it doesn't glamorize the world of Youngblood Priest. But again, this is someone else that gets chewed up and spit out by this system that's tough to escape. And Freddy's dead. That's what I said. It's more than like reporting a death. It's a warning. This is how it ends. But musically, infectious funk grooves, wah-wah guitar congas, the soaring falsetto of Curtis.
Yeah. I get that, the orchestration, so 70s sounding, but I love it. And by the way, the arrangements were done by a Johnny Pate, who is actually alive and well in Chicago at 102 years old.
Awesome. But this song does help establish the world, and it strengthens the soundtrack and the album itself, which is a complete standalone, can absolutely stand alone without the movie. The movie needs it. It doesn't need the movie.
I think it's one of those, maybe like Purple Rain, where the soundtrack is actually more memorable than the film.
Right. I wonder if they had the same director.
All right, well, we arrive at the final cut. It's confusing. It's called Superfly, but it's only one word. But the movie and the soundtrack is 2 words. Anyway.
You're gonna make your fortune back. But if you lose, don't ask no questions why.
Yeah, very famous groove there. Just great sharp rhythm, cool brass thrown in there, some more of that wah guitar. I would if people aren't really paying attention to the lyrics, you could think it is sort of this, just a glorification of this stylish, powerful person, but of course it's there's more to it than that. It's not simply praising, what's his name, Youngblood
Priest. But the swagger is real, but so is the danger.
Yes.
And I think that's why this is a good final track and ending to the story and to the album. Youngblood Priest spoiler alert, does escape with some of the money. He was trying to save up $1 million, but he loses his friend Willie in the process. But the groove sounds triumphant. It retains the tension, but it also sounds celebratory. Yeah, I think the whole album exposes the illusion of power inside a system like that that's designed to consume people. There really is no power. Everyone is a victim of it, and that's sad. But Curtis has a way of communicating it, but also letting us tap our toes a little.
What a nice way to be exposed to something very heavy.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's rewind and reflect on Curtis Mayfield's Superfly. I'll begin with my clickbait headline. Mayfield tells Chicago street stories with smooth soul grooves. I should mention that I think the film actually takes place in New York, but
yes, Harlem.
Right. I think Mayfield's experience probably comes from Chicago.
Yes,
but we've already said it. It's just the smooth soul and funk. That somehow, even though it's kind of positive sounding, really fits this kind of dark landscape that the film, but also the lyrics are attempting to capture. And it's very well done, and it's a very easy listen for something that's so harsh. Yeah,
and I think that it's like the spoonful of sugar, right? I mean, you gotta take your medicine and understand what's going on,
right.
But just like Marvin Gaye did, done in a way that is there's still beauty that is bigger than the ugliness, and we got to figure out a way to fix the ugliness, right? Okay, so my clickbait headline to describe the album Superfly. Curtis Mayfield rewrote the story of Superfly through soul and funk. So I feel like this album takes that 45-page script. That's what I read it was. Yes, probably could have just been an episode of Starsky and Hutch, but he retells the story and gives it the depth and grounds it in reality, and I think that's just incredible. It challenges the film's perspective. I'm so glad he had the freedom to do that. He's in the movie. Yeah, he's performing. Him and his band are playing while Youngblood and his crew are at a club. But it moves seamlessly between funk and soul and orchestrations and instrumentals and love songs, and every track builds a unified narrative, and there are no wasted moments. It's great.
All right, well, killer to filler. Any particular cuts stand out to you?
Give Me Your Love.
Yes.
Love song. Welcome Change of Pace. This song provides a little more warmth and intimacy, lush strings, Latin-influenced percussion.
Yeah, the groove is a bit more sensual, if you will.
Yes. Yes. But it shows his ability to write sophisticated love songs, but also keeps that cinematic atmosphere. Yeah. So that was...
It almost seems like he's almost going into Barry White territory there. But
almost, but a little less obvious.
Yeah, there's a lot of go. Eddie, You Should Know Better. That's another one about Fat Eddie, I assume.
No, Eddie is his buddy.
Oh, that's right. Freddie's fat.
Yes.
Eddie's, svelte. I don't know. Svelte Eddie. Another one. Very kind of soulful. I don't know. I guess about bad choices.
There's a lot of that going on in this. Yeah. But bad choices, which bad choice are you gonna take? That's kind of, I think that's sort of the moral of the story here.
Any of the instrumentals that you like?
Well, I don't like the title, but Junkie Chase is really funky and lots of wah-wah guitar, but it captures the tension of the action sequences, really. I think that's what it was there for.
Yeah. I think I actually like all the instrumental tracks. There's Think is the other one.
Yeah, that one's unexpected because it's almost acoustic.
Yeah, it was. I actually thought I had moved on to another album accidentally.
Yeah.
Anything kind of filler to you?
Well, not exactly, but I guess No Thing on Me, the Cocaine song.
That would probably be my pick too.
It's not musically poor. It's just the most direct and least subtle on the album, which I think is good too. The anti-drug stance is super clear here, and I think that's a good thing. I think that maybe he demanded that be on there so that he could make it clear that he's not, as an artist, he's not condoning the behavior. But it's a good song.
Yeah, I agree.
It takes us out of the story a bit. Yeah, that's all. That's the only problem with it.
Okay, production. So Mayfield produced this himself. And the whole thing sounds great. The band is tight. The arrangements are kind of lean. Again, it's Johnny Pate that's handling the orchestration and arranging. Just all of it. Just just the horns and the strings just work very well together. And it has a warm sound.
Yeah, I read that the production was kind of rushed. That there's a 3-day session at RCA Studios in Chicago for the majority of it, and that Pusher Man was recorded in New York previously.
3 days.
Well, that's the era too, though. Like, and I think we need more of that now. Is just go cut it however it is, make it, and then release it with the energy of those moments. Like I don't know, it worked.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whatever they did, but the arrangements never overwhelm. They enhanced the story and the imagery, and it's been like over 50 years, and it still sounds warm and dynamic, and it sounds clean and modern. Like, yes, it sounds like a 70s album because of the instrumentation and things, but it doesn't sound hissy or it just sounds real clean, and the arrangements are perfect. So
replay value?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, me too.
It's so many things. It succeeds as dance music, social commentary, cinematic storytelling, all those things, and it's short, so it can be listened to anytime, anywhere.
Yep. Legacy. I've I've really found that I love this era of soul music. And, we've done Marvin Gaye and Stevie Wonder, and even like the Billy Preston record we did kind of, falls into this kind of progressive soul category. But yeah, I'm glad to, add Curtis Mayfield to the listening mix.
Yeah, I mean, I think this, even though the movie takes place in Harlem, I think few albums represent Chicago better. Curtis Mayfield's upbringing, its teenage years spent in the Cabrini Green projects in Chicago, I think really did shape the intense social consciousness of Superfly, and his experience there. Like, this is autobiographical to some degree, I'm sure, of the things that he saw coming up. And then music was his salvation. But it's a foundation for modern funk and heavily sampled hip hop. Inducted into the National Recording Registry in 2019. It's really a blueprint for socially conscious popular music, and it's awesome. That's the legacy.
Agreed. Superfly tells hard city truths over smooth, unhurried grooves. Check it out.
Excuse me. I'd like to ask you a few questions.
It's time again for Deep Questions by Don. Chicago style. So, any other cool things that come from the city of Chicago and the surrounding areas?
Yeah, of course. Tons. Lots of music, lots of art. But usually you go down the food road. I'm going to do it this time.
Excellent.
The Italian beef Chicago sandwich made from thin slices of roast beef, simmered and served with this kind of thin gravy, like au jus kind of a thing, on French bread.
Right, that's what they used to serve at the Bear.
Yep. The beef on the Bear on FX, I think it's from. Great show. Go watch it.
Let's go to the walk and get all the cooked beef.
But besides that, the common toppings are spicy giardiniera, bell peppers.
Wait, what's giardiniera?
It's jarred pickled.
Those things I like. Yes.
Yeah. Cauliflower and all that stuff. But the preparation, like I've only had it a couple of times, and it was at O'Hare, so I don't know if it was the best version, but it was awesome.
I was going to say, I assume the best one can be found in like the ugliest building, and
probably. Yeah. So the bread is kind of wet. Then after they assemble the sandwich, you can have it dunked, which is what I did. They dunk it in the juice, and then it is sloppy and salty and spicy and probably not good for you, but damn delicious.
What might you bring to the beef as a new employee?
All right, what about you, Don?
I think we've talked about him before, but so, John Hughes, the director and film writer or whatever, almost all of his major films are set in Chicago or the Chicago area. So that includes the Breakfast Club, 16 Candles. And we made a reference to Ferris Bueller's Day Off before with Abe Froman, the Sausage King of Chicago. Yep. And that's the one I think about most because that's the one where you're actually seeing the city.
They go to Chicago. They go to a baseball game and into downtown to the financial district and on Ferris Bueller's Day Off from school.
Life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.
But it's it's kind of cool just because I think so many films are set in California. It was kind of nice to have a Midwestern setting.
Don't forget Home Alone.
Yeah. Yes, that giant house they live in. They act like they're just normal suburban people, but they're,
right. Like
those are rich people.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, I always did find that weird.
15 kids to Paris.
I know. God. I never even got on a plane till I was in my 30s. My parents didn't fly us anywhere ever. It wasn't even a discussion.
All right. Well, what else comes from Chicago? Let us know on our social media like Instagram and Facebook at Album Nerds.
Kevin!
Well, I have no imagination, so for my Chicago pick, I went with a band called Chicago. Well, on this first album, they were the Chicago Transit Authority, and that's also the name of the album.
So this was the most literal pick of ever.
Yes, that you could possibly do on any of these cities that we've been to. So Chicago was formed in Chicago in 1967, originally as The Big Thing. Not a great band name, in my opinion. But they built their identity around a unique combination of rock, jazz, blues, and soul. Some of the members met in college. And so, I think, kind of what we called in high school band geeks, form a rock band. Led by guitarist Terry Kath, keyboardist Robert Lamb, bassist Peter Cetera, drummer Danny Serafine, and a powerful 3-piece horn section featuring Walter Parazater, James Pankow, and Lee Lonane. The band created a sound that reflected their hometown's musical diversity. Before they became soft rock balladeers of the 80s, which I remember as a kid, I liked those pop songs, right? And my dad was like, oh, I've liked Chicago forever. I'm like, no, you've never heard of them? They're a cool band with videos. What are you talking about? But my dad had this record, this Chicago Transit Authority. And the reason that he bought the 3-way speakers he had was because of the mid-range, specifically for the horn sounds and stuff that based on this album's dynamics, which I think
your dad is cool.
Anyway, wow. I'll make sure to have him listen to this. He'll be very proud to hear that. So the album, Chicago Transit Authority, released April of 1969. Double album as a debut. And their second album was a double album too. Anyway.
How the hell did they convince a record label to let them do that?
I don't know. I guess their manager had sold that they were this phenomenon, right? Produced by James William Guercio. I'll say Guercio. The record blended horn-driven rock, psychedelic textures, blues guitar, jazz improv, and socially aware songwriting to some degree. So why don't we get to the opening track, which has kind of a cryptic title. It's called Introduction. This must have been like how they kicked off their live shows, right? Yeah. This is who we are. We got the cowbell out. Can't go wrong with cowbell. I mean, that's true.
His voice. So I think that's Terry Kath that's singing.
Yes.
He's got a great kind of soul blues voice,
like a Joe Cocker, but cleaner. Yeah, he sounds great. Like, I have this record on vinyl. I have a bunch of them that I picked up over the years and I probably haven't listened to enough. But man, listen to this 4-sided record all week on vinyl. Nice. Like, I wanted to capture that feeling, and I talked to my dad about it a little bit, and I wanted to hear it the way that he heard it instead of just streaming it.
Did he loan you his 3-way speaker system or whatever?
I've got 4-way. They didn't have those in 72 when he bought his system. He still has those speakers and uses them. So this one was written by Terry Kath, and it definitely is an introduction to the band, to their sound, to their blend of things, where they do rock, but they also horn. I think they were saying we're not chasing singles. Like, the band they became in the 80s is not this. Like, Terry Kath was gone by then. He passed away, but gets heavily distorted blues guitar. I think Terry Kath is channeling some Jimi Hendrix here and there. The drumming provides the bridge between the rock and the jazz. Like, Danny Serafine is, well, like I said, like he's able to fill those gaps and bring those two things together very well, because that's consistent.
Yeah, it's it's an ambitious beginning, I think, to an ambitious album.
Yeah, you don't know what you're in for at first when this starts.
And I'm not sure exactly of the timeline, because Blood, Sweat, and Tears existed at the same time. I think maybe their big album came out just before this.
Yeah.
But this is different. I think they're almost like saying,
yes.
Hey, we're more than Blood, Sweat, and Tears, or,
They were intentionally letting the music guide them rather than trying to write hits or catchy choruses or anything like that. And my dad also told me, so he was still working in radio at this time, and he worked at an album-oriented rock station, and they would play the super long tracks from this album.
Nice.
Because they were hipsters. All right, why don't we continue on to a song that's a little more in the rock category. This one's called South California Purples. Written by Robert Lamb, embracing blues roots.
I hear Led Zeppelin.
I hear Led Zeppelin. Of course, we heard a Beatles reference there from I'm the Walrus. A little lyrical nod. Yeah, I guess it was inspired by the band's experiences after relocating from Chicago to LA for recording and stuff, and sort of a tongue-in-cheek look at California culture through the eyes of Midwesterners. And I assume the California Purples, maybe the sunset, sunrise type, the colors in the sky. That would be my guess.
I was thinking it was like a strand of acid or something, or I don't know.
Could be. built around one of Terry Katz's heaviest guitar riffs. Peter Cetera's bass is great here. It's like having known him as the lead singer kind of Chicago in the 80s and a solo artist. I forget that he was ever a bass player and just a part of a collective. He was with them for years, like 11, 12 years or something.
Yeah, they had no idea what they had.
Well, they used him a lot, but they used 3 vocalists, It wasn't about a star. It was about the band. And that's, I think, when he started taking over, that's when it started getting weird, right? Yeah. But yeah, the horns are perfect. Lyrically, it's not really a literal place, but it's more about a feeling or a new environment. But yeah, it's cool. It's a really cool song, and they're all long. Yeah. I mean, it's 4 sides for 12 songs? Yeah. What's the total runtime of this? Do you know offhand?
I think it was 78 minutes or something like that.
Damn. That's long for an album back then. All right, Don, anything more to add on South California Purpose?
Just edgy and kind of rough, so they really can, they're dipping their pen in a lot of different areas.
Yes.
I don't know. I don't know what they're doing with their pen. Yes, the brush. Maybe that's what I'm. Yeah. There we go. Sorry.
Okay. Painting those California purples. God, it's tough to choose. So, Don, what song did you want to talk about specifically?
Well, the one song that I was familiar with before is one called "Does Anybody Really Know What Time It Is?"
Does anybody really care? If so, I can't imagine why. We've all got time enough.
So that one's written by Robert Lamb, and also those lead vocals are him as well. And God, his voice is so smooth, or something. I almost feel like that's Michael Bublé singing it or something. Just got that cool vibe to it. Easy.
Yes, that's what I think of when I think of Bublé. Cool.
He's cool with the chicks.
My God.
Sorry.
I'm not sure that he is. He's cool because he's Canadian. Okay. I was familiar with this one as well. It opens with that like solo piano intro. Probably not on the single,
I don't think
I would
so.
imagine.
Yeah.
But it expands into that full band arrangement. And I mean, it's a simple question, right? But it's critiquing society's obsession with time and productivity and routine. Yeah. Like don't get lost in your tasks, live life, look at the world around you kind of a thing. But it's very recognizable, and
that's the most obvious single on the album.
Yeah,
and in fact, it wasn't released as a single until after the second album had some success, because that had 26 and whatever. What's the song with the numbers? 26 and
25 or 624. And that's from their second album,
right? So once they started to have some success, I think the record label went back and released this as a single, and it became a hit, which happens. But yeah, this is I think it shows their pop potential. This particular track.
So it's a very long album. I feel like we missed so much, but we'll get into some of those briefly in a moment. But right now, we've got to focus on the closing track, the final track on the album, an artistic statement called Liberation. Horny.
Yes.
There's a lot of instrumentation on this particular track.
Yeah, I don't think there's lyrics until the very end.
Yeah. And that's a statement in itself. But at nearly 15 minutes, Liberation is, certainly a way to say this is who we are, right? We don't care about commercial shit. We are here to rock and horn. Built around the composition by James Pankow, it evolved into this collective showcase where every member kind of gets to contribute. So it's like the on drums, ladies and gentlemen. That's what I feel like this is, and this is probably how they close their live shows too. Structured more like a jazz suite than a conventional rock song. Lots of horns and open improv stuff, shifting tempos, dynamic changes. Lyrically, the title itself, I guess, would sum it up, representing freedom from musical formulas, commercial expectations, stylistic boundaries. And I think that sums up Chicago, the band at this time, and Chicago, the city, right? Just throw it all out there. This is who we are.
One thing I'll say for their long instrumental jams, they never feel kind of aimless or anything. Like I don't know how to put it. There still seems to be purpose, at all moments, because there are times where, particularly some of these jam bands, they just go on forever and you're like, enough already. But I don't know, it all seems to connect in some way. So they're really good at that.
Well, they are the transit authority, so they had to plan the routes accordingly. Yeah, I just came up with that. All right, so why don't we take a little time to rewind and reflect on the CTA. I'll kick things off with my clickbait headline to describe the album. Before the ballads, before the hits, Chicago was a horn-powered rock revolution. Ooh. So it's an ambitious late 60s debut that really shows a fully developed identity, one that they refuse to back down from. 76 minutes long is the runtime, so you were close.
Thank you.
It's an idea-packed double album that introduces a musical collective rather than a band even, and no standard singles at all. The horns are part of the DNA of this music. It's not decoration, and so often it's just flourish. This is not flourish. This is the spine.
Yes.
And the more you keep that in mind while listening, the less cheesy it seems. At least that was my experience.
Yeah, well said.
I have my moments.
All right, I'll give you my clickbait headline. Horny commuters ride the L in blur of jazzy street rock experimentation. Do you know it's the L train because it's elevated? It's not the letter L.
It's EL.
Interesting, huh? Little fun fact. So yeah, this is just a big experimental album, but with some pretty traditional sounds in it. It's heavy rock at times, it's jazz at times, and it's even almost like protest music or something as well. Mm-hmm. Just a very ambitious album.
Indeed. Okay, well, let's try and get to some killer to filler. There's so many tracks. I mean, there's not so many tracks. There's so much time in this album. It's kind of tough. What songs did you want to talk about a little bit before wrapping up?
Another Robert Lamb track, Beginnings. Another big one. Kind of a love song. It has a pretty coherent song structure.
Yeah, his songwriting seems to be a little more accessible. Yeah. Those seem to be the more croonery type.
Yep. Absolutely.
Songs.
But I do like his smooth pipes.
Questions 67 and 68.
Jesus,
I don't know if that's
what's
about
with them and the numbers,
the things that happened in the year.
Probably.
I don't know, but it's a great example of their ability to combine sophistication with accessibility. Another Robert Lamb exploring uncertainty in relationships, but the horns are really important here. Really strong melody, and it's sophisticated pop writing. To some degree.
And you've got Peter Cetera's voice is in there a little bit. Mm-hmm. Which is foreshadowing.
Never a bad thing. Yeah. Well, they brought him in partially because of his vocal range. They wanted someone that could get higher. I watched behind the music on there.
Another good cut is, it's actually a cover of the Spencer Davis group's I'm a Man. I think that's another one that Cetera sings. But yeah, really, really well done. I actually went back and listened to the Spencer Davis version, and I think I like this one better.
I do too. I hate to say it.
Yeah. Stevie Winwood's another one that it was very different in the 80s.
Yes. You mellow out as you get older, and so does your music, right? What about any filler?
I don't know that it's filler, but there is the track, the free form guitar, which I think is just Terry Kath, supposedly not even through like a pedal or anything. He's just messing with his amp. I think it's cool, and particularly for 1969, but it does go on for quite a while. And at some point, I am kind of ready for it to move on to the next cut.
It could be maybe 30 seconds shorter or something like that. Maybe a minute. But in the context of the album, I think it makes sense, showing all their sides. For me, weakest moment, Prologue, August 29, 1968, which is just like crowd noise and stuff from chanting "The Whole World's Watching" from protests at the 68 Democratic National Convention.
That's what they were saying?
Chicago.
I couldn't...
Yeah. And it does flow into Someday, August 29th, 1968, which is the next track. And there's interesting historically, 100%. Something that you would replay by itself? No. it's definitely within the context of the album.
Right.
And then that's near the end. It's the last couple of tracks before the final song.
It's interesting that they felt compelled to go political, at least for a little bit. Of course, it was 1969, so I mean, the world was in chaos. So I understand the urge, but I'm not sure that it's what they do best.
No, but I appreciate the effort. What'd you think about the production?
I like it. I mean, the horns are so prominent, but not obnoxious. I am not the biggest horn guy in the world. The horn dog.
God. Well, maybe we can reclaim that to be someone that's a fan of horns in music instead of its old connotation.
But the brass tones are very clear. The drums. I know they had to record a lot of the instruments separately, but it does sound like a band in a room.
Yes, and I think that was really what the producer James William Guercio did the best, was capturing their live power and keeping it clear. And it does have some rough edges, mostly like unpolished vocals, loosely edited instrumental sections, and the imperfections are what enhance the appeal. It's a band discovering their chemistry on record. They're a band that had discovered their chemistry on stage. It was time to figure out how to translate that to who they were. And the double album, I think, was necessary to get there.
Yeah.
Replay value for you, my friend.
Yeah, I definitely appreciated the album. I mean, it's a lot to take in one setting, but I think if I had people over or, if just kind of more background music or something, I think it works.
Yeah, if you had like a meeting of the horn dogs.
Right. But then, like my jazzier friends, maybe I would, put this on to sort of pique their interest. I don't know.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, me too. I mean, there's the nostalgic part of it. My dad playing this when I was a kid and that kind of thing. But it's on, just had got to have a different expectation than a typical 1969 rock album. This is not a collection of hooks. It's a collection of musicianship and musical experimentation and discovery. And if you come at it like that, like as an experience, I think that's when things start to click. Legacy. How you feel about the legacies, particularly in the landscape of Chicago?
Yeah, well, I feel like it, because, Chicago has the jazz background and the blues background. So I think this sort of brings that, into the late 60s rock, and it fuses it together. So it's, it's really well done in that way.
Completely agree. Okay, so Chicago Transit Authority, a fearless debut that turned Chicago's blues roots, jazz ambition, and rock energy into a new musical language. Check it out.
Can you dig it? Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
All right. On your way back from Pizzeria Uno. Oops, they probably hate that place.
I would think so, but you never know.
Did you have a chance to dig anything else? What are you digging?
Well, it was a tough week, but I haven't spent enough time with this yet, but it's Jack White, so it can't be bad. Jack White's Frozen Charlotte just released. Of course, he's an American singer, songwriter, guitarist, best known as the driving force behind the White Stripes, and then the Raconteurs, Dead Weather. But he's got that raw guitar style, bluesy. He's obsessed with analog recording, which I also love. But Frozen Charlotte is his 7th studio album, solo studio album, that is, released through Third Man Records, his own label. It's raw and aggressive, lots of distortion, lots of explosive riffs. Let's listen to a little bit of, I don't know if it's G-O-D and the Broken Ribs, but it's God must be an acronym for something here. Let's check it out.
A sister and a brother, they're gonna make you a mother now.
I love that guy.
I do too, but he just has like so much stuff that I'm like so intimidated by his discography.
Yeah, but the albums are all pretty short, so.
Didn't he just come out with one like last record store day?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Slow down, fella.
I think that, keep it going, man. All right. And then from my vinyl collection, I'd like to pick something that I dig from there. And, going back to Chicago, another Chicago band that I've always been a fan of, and I think I have all their records. in some form. Urge Overkill, and this one is Rock and Roll Submarine from 2011. It's the only one I have on vinyl. They're an American rock band from Chicago, of course, blending alternative rock, glam-inspired swagger, punk energy, and sort of a larger-than-life sound and stage presentation. Nash Cato and Eddie King Rozier are the primary band members. So Rock and Roll Submarine was their first album in 16 years as a band when they recorded that one. So why don't we jump in and listen to a little bit of Effigy. So they're probably best known for Girl, You'll Be a Woman Soon cover on the Pulp Fiction soundtrack, and then their album Saturation from 1993. But they continue to do their thing and do it well. Nice. And they're definitely at the heart of the 90s rock scene in Chicago. So Donald, what you digging?
Well, I'm not sure if I'm digging it yet, but the band When in Rome, who you've probably heard of, they did The Promise. I'm sorry, but I'm just thinking of the right words to say.
Yes, that's old.
That's from 1988 or 89 or 80 something.
Okay.
But they have a new song called Human Nature, and it's supposedly going to be on an album called Illuminations. I don't have an official release date on, but it's coming. Okay. But they're from Manchester, and I think this is 2 of the 3 original members, Clive Farrington and Andrew Mann. But again, here's Human Nature.
Yeah, you can't. I just sometimes when a title is so well known for another song, I feel like maybe find another title.
Maybe they shouldn't rhyme out and doubt. I don't know. But we'll see. And then another one I'm still iffy on. I'm almost digging is Madonna's latest album called Confessions 2.
I haven't dared even.
Yeah, I don't think you'd like it all that much. So this is supposedly the spiritual follow-up to Confessions on a Dance Floor, which was her 2005 album. It's a dance record. Lots of things that is there to make you want to dance.
Like Vogue?
Yeah, there's some of that kind of thing in there, but more kind of club stuff. Yeah, but well, here's a track that actually features Sabrina Carpenter on it. Bring Your Love. I feel like that's your Vogue moment there. I think that's probably the closest one, but a lot of this, and then a lot of her kind of talking about dancing and the club and stuff. I don't know. I need to spend more time with it. But again, it's called Confessions 2. I actually debuted at number 1. You go, girl.
Number 1 on the former 80s icon charts.
I thought you were going to be meaner. Let's see.
That's pretty cruel.
All right, so what are you digging? Let us know. Join us on our socials, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky at Album Nerds.
It will be a discovery of extraordinary value.
Well, here we are at the end of our Summer in the Cities journey.
It's been fun.
So at this time in the show, I'm reminded of the words of American actor and film producer Michael Douglas.
Sure, his middle name's Kirk. Sorry.
Isn't that his dad's name?
I think that's intentional.
Well, Thanks for the insight. And Michael said, I'm impressed with the people from Chicago. Hollywood is hype. New York is talk. Chicago is work. With that in mind, let's bring out the wheel of musical discovery to find out what we'll be doing next.
Next time, we kick off our I Love the 80s series with 1980. We're diving into 2 defining genres, electronic and rock, exploring the albums, artists and sounds that helped launch an unforgettable decade of music.
Oh, yeah. Another series. Can't go wrong with the 90s, and I do love them. Maybe as much as maybe more than the 80s, I'm not sure.
The first half of the 90s.
Okay. Well, we'll be starting at the beginning in 1990, and so it looks like we'll be focusing on electronic and rock albums, so we'll bring one of each.
All right, well, what's your favorite album from 1990? What else are you listening to? Email us at podcast@albumnerds.com or follow us on Instagram and other social media at Album Nerds. And you can visit albumnerds.com to listen to all 346 episodes. And the best way to support this show is to share it. Please subscribe, rate, and review on your favorite podcast app.
Thank you so much for joining us here on the program.
We'll do some Chicago from the 80s and 90s. You're the podcast in my life. You're the inspiration.
I want to have an Emmy.
Summer in the cities.
Oh, that's perfect. Nice.
Thank you.
It's over. But we'll catch y'all next time. Traveling through time.
That's the 90s version.
Stoppers.